Hello again everyone, welcome to the Film Dirt Lounge. This review follows the recent sad passing of Val Kilmer, an actor I've always admired through the myriad of characters he brought to life on the big screen. Even in movies which perhaps weren't that good, he always seemed to be really good in them. One of the few actors, I guess you could say, disappeared into their roles. So I hope you liked the tribute video I posted last week based on his performance as Bruce Wayne / Batman. And tonight I decided to take a look at his documentary simply titled Val, released in 2021, narrated by his son Jack, who sounds remarkably like his father. He has that soft but commanding voice you associate with Val Kilmer's characters, which of course he sadly lost through treatment for throat cancer. And it was such sad news when I heard, again, an actor I really admired and who always seemed cool in his films. I recently reviewed Heat and remarked on his superb gun work during that famous scene in the streets of LA. I spoke about his Batman in a few videos. Also a while ago I looked at Wonderland, where he played John Holmes, the porn star involved in the Wonderland murders. And going forward, I feel I'm going to have to revisit a lot of Val Kilmer movies. I'm looking forward to revisiting Tombstone, as this documentary definitely reminds us of what a great actor he was. There's lots of camcorder videos he seemed to shoot, not just on the sets of his movies, but just in his day-to-day life. There's a lot of family videos that they've included here. Of course, they must have held a lot back, of course, because a lot of this seems like we're dipping into private movies where he's enjoying time with his family and he's feeling sad about losing his parents. And it really is a somber documentary where we definitely feel sorry for his financial and family problems later in life. But it also covers things like auditions, artistic ideas, and various vlogs, video blogs and behind the scenes footage on various movies which I'm surprised he actually got to shoot. For a long time I got the impression he was a method actor and he was in focus and concentrated, but here he just seems to be light-hearted and happy to share a joke and to enjoy downtime, shooting himself and his colleagues in green rooms. And also a fascinating argument we got to see firsthand on the set of The Island of Dr. Moreau with John Frankenheimer, where he's begging Val to turn off the camera because he keeps shooting his own movie and claiming he wants evidence of the disagreement, which is, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in a documentary before. And it is amazing just to hear the angst going on behind the scenes of, I guess, that very troubled production. And trouble seemed to follow him around. We've all heard Batman Forever had its fair share of problems with director Joel Schumacher. Actually, I was hoping to see some of that, but I guess he wasn't shooting all the time. And overall, I guess this documentary did kind of change my perception of Val Kilmer, because, like I said, I always felt he was a method actor and not too much fun to have hanging around, but he comes across really well in various interviews I've seen of him. He seems like a light-hearted soul and with particular views on life, and I've always found that quite entertaining. He doesn't come across completely golden in the documentary. They haven't really whitewashed all the bad stuff out. We see a lot of bad stuff here. And I can kind of understand John Frankenheimer not wanting other cameras rolling. It is kind of a disturbance, and it just shows how difficulties affect people differently. And of course, if we didn't have these home movies, we wouldn't really be able to see behind the curtain. We see early plays he auditioned for and actually finally got to act on stage with Kevin Bacon and Sean Penn, and how he was dismayed but kind of accepted being number 3 on the cast list. Various spoof movies he shot, taking off Jaws and other characters. I thought it was fascinating that he was dressed up as Batman most recently, with his son Jack as Robin. I kind of got the impression he was a bit fed up with Batman, but he has spoken about Batman and his time playing that character quite favourably on videos here and there. And I kind of understood his point where maybe he was difficult, where he couldn't be collaborative, and that must have been frustrating when you spend so long developing a story. You kind of want to be involved, especially if you're number one or number two on the cast list. And when you're making a big studio picture, your contribution freedom, I guess, is kind of minimal. You act exactly what's on the page, and he doesn't really seem like that character. He seems like the type that would do well in theatre or making small movies. And I also found it heartening that he retraced his steps. He went back to the London Theatre Royal. He went back to Juilliard. He obviously spent a lot of time there. You could look at this overall as a remarkable piece of art, looking into the life of an artist, because you rarely get to see the lives of actors and people we watch continuously for decades on screen. This is a little look through his eyes. And of course, therefore, it does touch on his family and his marriage to Joanne Whalley. And we get that he had an interesting life, not always a happy one. Problems getting roles, especially with his reputation as being a little bit of a bad lad. But a lot of good stuff does come through. I really enjoyed this, and I'd definitely give it 5 stars. It didn't tiptoe round deeper parts and or controversial parts. We did get to see a lot of personal stuff, and it wasn't too overly processed. It wasn't like a big showbiz video or a trailer for all these other projects that he's involved with. It really did look at the man behind all those characters he played. And that's the whole point of a documentary. And I think this one definitely nailed it. And like I said at the top, I'm definitely going to revisit Tombstone. So no doubt I'll be reviewing that one soon. And I'd just like to close out by remarking on something I remember reading about his role as Batman, where he felt he couldn't come through the suit. It was difficult to get a performance through it, and that anyone could play Batman. And I just hope he realised that we could see him, and he was pretty damn good as Batman. Thanks for joining me for this review of Val. See you again on the channel soon. Like and subscribe. All the best to you. Take care.